jobs lined up after. What's up everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm gonna share with you guys how I became a UX designer with zero design and work experience. I'm gonna share with you guys how I first found out about UX design and what I decided to do to learn more about the career in order for me to make the career transition into becoming a UX designer. Now this video is pretty much going to be my part one to the how I landed my first UX design job 3 months after bootcamp. In that specific video, which I'm sure you guys have already seen, I talk more about my post-bootcamp experience, and for today's video, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about my pre-bootcamp experience. Now keep in mind that I did my bootcamp program back in 2018, so some of the things that I might tell you guys and share with you guys might not be as relevant today. This probably should have been the first video I ever created on this YouTube channel, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do it now. So I'll talk about my life before UX design, how I found out about UX design and UX bootcamps, and what I decided to do in order to become a UX designer. So let's do this. So let's first talk about who and where I was before I became a UX designer. So I graduated from the University of Georgia with a bachelor's in advertising, and after I graduated, I had no clue what I wanted to do with this degree. I guess you could say that I really didn't take school and my career seriously, and I really didn't even understand what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Then again, who actually knows what they really want to do at the age of 21 or 22 after they graduate from college? I don't know, it was just a lot of pressure for me specifically at that time. So after graduating from college, I decided to move out to California to live out the California dream. I moved in with my aunt in Orange County, and soon after, I was able to find my first job working for a beauty skincare startup company doing email marketing for them. After doing that for about a year and realizing maybe marketing wasn't the right fit for me, I decided to switch things up and try project management at a creative agency. Although I loved working at the agency, I particularly was not really good at project management just because naturally I'm not a very detail-oriented person. And around this time, I was going through my quarter-life crisis, and that really messed me up, you guys. It was that epiphany moment that I had where I realized I was super unhappy with who I was and where I was in my career and life stage. I started to compare myself to other friends who seemingly had everything all figured out, working for big companies, making big salaries. Basically, I was really struggling to understand my purpose in life. At that moment, I realized I really needed to have a serious conversation with myself about my career. I hated the idea that I was trading time for money, where I would be in a career where it would have no substance or growth for me specifically. All I knew at the moment was that I really wanted to be in a job where I could come to work every day and be really passionate about it 40+ hours a week. So, after much thinking, I came to the conclusion that I wanted 3 things out of my next career. Number 1, I wanted to find a career where I would be creatively fulfilled and be able to think outside the box. If you don't know me personally, I consider myself a creative where I've played a ton of musical instruments, I've sang, I've dabbled in photography and videography from time to time, and also I've been dancing for 12 years semi-professionally. I've used this example in a previous video before, but I knew that being a doctor or an accountant would not be the right fit for me because it doesn't really use creative thinking and you're not allowed to think outside of the box. As a doctor, you have certain rules and guidelines that you have to follow, especially when it comes to taking care of patients with cancer, a broken foot. If you were to try to think outside of the box and try to do something different, I'm pretty sure you'll get fired. So it only made sense for me to be in a career where I could use that creative thinking to be successful. Number 2, I wanted to find a career where I could interact with people. Another thing about me is that I am a super extrovert where I love being around people all the time. So being in a career where I would be siloed and working alone, I just knew those type of career would not be the right fit for me, and I wanted to be in a career where I would be able to work collaboratively with others. And third, I wanted to be in a career where I would be paid a higher wage so that way I could be financially stable and be able to save for my future. So after graduating from college and working in the real world for about 2.5 years, the highest paid salary that I've ever received was around $38K, which equates to about $18 to $19 an hour. I knew I couldn't resort to a job that would just get me by living paycheck to paycheck. I knew I needed to find a career where it would have high financial growth, so that way I can have long-term financial goals and savings especially for when I get older and when I retire. Also, I wanted to be able to financially support my parents when they get old and when they retire as well. So after figuring all that out, I asked myself, what kind of career can I be in where I could be creatively fulfilled, where I could interact with people and also make a higher living wage. So while I was still working at that creative agency that I mentioned before, I actually had a coworker who was working there as a UX designer. At the time, I had no clue what UX design was, and I just kind of assumed that it was some type of graphic design kind of job. But after working with her for a little bit and seeing the type of work that she did, I got even a little bit more curious. So I decided to meet up with her and ask her a whole bunch of questions about UX design and what exactly it was. So my coworker was able to explain to me what UX design is, and she was able to just tell me how it's so different from just being a graphic designer. For her educational background, she actually went to college for graphic design, and then she slowly pivoted towards UX design as her career progressed. At that moment, I was just like, oh man, do I have to go back to college for 4 years, pay a college tuition just to become a UX designer? Now, luckily, I actually had a friend from church who was actually going through a UX bootcamp program in order to become a UX designer. I didn't even know bootcamp programs existed and didn't know that there were other options outside of college that would be cheaper and also shorter. Obviously, I was super skeptical, so I decided to take some time to talk to that friend. At the time, he was enrolled in a UX bootcamp program called Designation, which was located in Chicago. Now, before I tell you guys a little bit more about Designation and you guys attempt to look for it yourself online, I will say that Designation is no longer around today. It was bought out by the Flatiron School bootcamp program. And then when the pandemic hit, it was actually one of the first few programs that they decided to cut out. Otherwise, guys, I would biasly recommend my bootcamp above all the other ones. But sadly, again, it's no longer around. Now, Designation was a 6-month intensive UX bootcamp program where the students would first go through 3 months of online classes where they would learn the basic fundamental of UX and UI design. And then for the last 3 months, they would actually have to fly out to Chicago for the in-person phase where they would complete the client and career phase of the program. Since my friend was currently in the middle of the program, he was able to share with me his personal experience as he went through it. This friend really helped me to understand that a career transition through a bootcamp program is possible. But one of the most important information that my friend told me was that bootcamp programs do not guarantee you a job, no matter how much the bootcamp program tries to sell you on their job acceptance rate after the bootcamp, or even where the students end up going after they graduate from the program and working for specific companies. You can easily do these programs not giving it your all, and you can go through it just wasting your time and money without actually learning anything. And vice versa, there are probably going to be bootcamp programs out there that do not have a great curriculum, or they don't set you guys up for success even after the program finishes. My friend also shared with me that there will be a lot of work to do even after the bootcamp ends. You will need to work on your resume, your portfolio, your case studies all by yourself outside of the bootcamp structure. And then you gotta go out there and go through the crazy job hunt. So to everyone who's considering joining a UX bootcamp, do not take these programs lightly, thinking that you can just do a career switch that easily into UX design. Even though my friend had mostly great things to say about Designation, I still wanted to just weigh out my options, so I decided to look at other bootcamps as well. There are a ton of different UX bootcamps out there, some that are 3 months long, some that are 6, some that are in person, some that are online only, and there are also full-time courses or part-time. Do your research, look up other bootcamps, because your specific situation and experience can be a lot different from your friends, and there can be a better bootcamp that is a better fit for you. So for my research, I went online and I found 2 websites that listed and ranked all the different UX bootcamps. The 2 sites that I used was Course Report and SwitchUp. I went through the entire list of all the different bootcamps and what they had to offer. You can also see and read through authentic reviews left by UX bootcamp alumni. What I did notice when I was looking through the list was that Designation was the #1 suggested bootcamp at the time. Another option that I did look closely at was General Assembly. Even as I was going through all the different UX bootcamp programs and doing my research, at one point, I thought about maybe not doing a UX bootcamp program and just learning UX design all on my own. With this option, I wouldn't have to pay a huge amount for the bootcamp tuition, and I could also potentially still have my full-time job and just learn UX design on the side. This can be an option, but at the time, I just felt like there were way too many resources out there that could either be really good or just really bad. And if you're not careful, you can easily go down the wrong rabbit hole and get all the wrong introduction and education for UX design. You also don't really have a UX professional guiding and teaching you as you learn more about the career. And it can be really hard to stay motivated all by yourself without having instructors or classmates to push you. Again, I know it's possible to self-teach yourself UX design, but at the time, it was something that I wasn't really confident in, and I just felt like going through a UX bootcamp program and structure was probably going to be the better fit for me. So after doing a lot of research, talking to many different people, and weighing my different options, I decided to sign up for a bootcamp instead of going back to school or self-teaching myself. And I chose Designation as the bootcamp that I would attend. So here are some of the pros that I saw with Designation at the time and why I chose this bootcamp above the others. Number one, it was a longer bootcamp program than others. Designation was a 6-month program, while most of the others were only 3 to 4 months. I figured the longer the program is, the less rush it would feel, and the more time I would have to learn everything at a steady pace. Number two, Designation offered an in-person experience. Again, the first 3 months was all online, but the last 3 months was actually all in person in Chicago. For me, I knew that I wanted to have the full in-person immersive experience with my UX Bootcamp program, meaning that I can get hands-on experience being taught by my instructors and working alongside my classmates. It was also very helpful when it came to our team projects where we would have to work collaboratively with teammates, and also when we would have to do presentations to our stakeholders in person. Being in person, it was a really great feeling to know that we were all there in person helping each other out. And third, Designation was offering real client experience, which was a game-changing factor for me when choosing Designation above the other programs. To be able to work with real clients, doing presentations and talking to stakeholders, I knew that it was going to be really helpful for me after my bootcamp because I would actually have work experience and it would help me to stand out a little bit above the other bootcamp students outside of Designation as well. So in order to pay for the bootcamp program, I actually took out a private loan through one of the financial aid companies that was provided by the bootcamp. The only reason that I decided to take out a loan was because I really didn't have the money at the time, and I also didn't want to financially burden my parents as well. Now, the advice here is if you have the money or if you have family members who can financially support you during the bootcamp program, take that money and use it. Do not take out a loan. Most of the private loans that are given usually have a really high interest rate where you'll end up paying a lot more for the program after the program ends. To be honest, I am still paying off my bootcamp loans right now to this day. So without diving too deep into my UX bootcamp program experience, I would say that I generally overall had a really great experience through Designation. I got to really learn the fundamentals of both UX and UI design. I got to work on 2 client projects, presenting to the stakeholders and talking to them. I also got really great career assistance through the bootcamp program, them helping me create my resume, my portfolio, and even my case studies as well. So it's been a little under 3 years now since I completed my bootcamp program at Designation. If anyone is curious about what and where I am today, thankfully I am still a UX designer, and I'm currently working at the Home Depot in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, if you're curious about my post-bootcamp experience and how I landed my first UX design job 3 months after bootcamp, you can check out the first video that I created on my YouTube channel. If you have any questions about my experience or about UX design and bootcamps in general, please leave it in the comments section below and I'll do my best to answer all of them. You can also give me some ideas on what type of videos that I should create on this channel as well. So if you like what you saw and you want to stay up to date with my channel, please subscribe to my channel, thumbs up this video, and turn on the notification bell as well. Also, follow my Instagram if you're curious about my life outside of UX design. So until next time, peace out guys.